That's okay.
Your program.
Right.
Negative.
You may not cut that piece out right now. Make it so you can.
Yeah, I'm still gonna purchase these properties.
So you don't run wires across water and everything.
Exactly.
So, I will say,
I don't know why you can have the inside of that boat. And 22 slips. Got that.
Say one more time.
Well, you got this cut here, you're talking about leaving it closed out.
It's possible. I mean, we may not be able to. I mean, because we won't have the money to do everything we want to do. I'm just.
But I mean, if this whole bulkhead's out there, you get close to 12 million there. Start adding the numbers up. The dredging and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
how much?
Salt seal, but bulkhead 5.4. Cheap material was another 2 million, so you're talking 7 million there, halfway there, there's two things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have to say, move a few things around. I don't, in the harbor, the K, was it L? What are we calling the new furthest one over?
I think it was there.
M? Oh yeah, L's down one thing. Anyways, and I understand it doesn't have any slips, or maybe it just has like a long transient if the tide's right to hang out on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I would like that about there.
Yeah, maybe there's some spots that on the minus tide that it would be closed, but I mean, that is it most of the time for about a to touch the bottom. Not really a problem. I don't know the person in the boat, but a transient, you know. Anyways, I'm just looking at the distance between the floats and thinking that. What do you think? Is that a little close? I mean, some of these boats are making that turn from the way it is now. We're moving, is it H? Is that 50 feet closer to K or to G?
That looks like about 50 feet closer. That's going to be really tight,
It's going to be tight.
especially for the big tenders. Like I already almost get hit by them up there every year.
Yeah.
So.
And I got hit. I mean, Kathy G making that turn. He said he bounced off the dock and the front was into me last week. So I just wonder if we're trying to save a little bit of money, actually not trying to squeeze up the float so much could save a lot. And
If we just keep it like the same footprint as it is right now, but with a drive down dock,
yeah,
you're kind of saying.
yeah.
Well, I would agree. I mean, that's kind of my point is that go with what we got. You know.
Oh,
we
but
don't.
that eliminates a whole float from this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
We go what we got, but new.
yeah, new, better, everything. Better.
Right.
I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't explain enough. That.
I just was. I'm feeling that this is a little tight.
So the only thing I would say to that, which is, I'd be all for that, shifting it back over a little bit,
Still like the gap.
but I like the gap, and I like the ability to put in that extra transient flow down the road. So
Yeah, I like the gap too.
because it makes it where we can access those 23rds, and right now we can't.
Well, right now, you can't get in there unless it's low water.
Yeah.
And it moves us removes like you said,
If we didn't
bigger
do the
street and
transient
access
flow,
ramp.
ooh, that's not good. If we didn't have that transient flow in there, could we make those 20-foot slips, 30-foot slips?
The plan would be to make them bigger, no matter what. I mean, it's just a waste of time to do 20-foot slips. I mean, really.
It makes the bow picker is going to try to tie in there, and then it's going to.
Yeah.
It's going to leverage on it
If you make
wrong.
30s, you can put bow pickers on. Yeah.
That's like awesome bow picker parking.
Right.
At least transient bow picker parking. The problem is that it'd be sideways to the wind in the winter.
It'd be tweaking on the docks.
They're gonna be heavy duty. Okay, you do it first on the phone, so.
Kristen, what's your opinion on all this?
Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys think that it's tight, because that was my initial thought when I looked at it, it looks tight. And then when I went back and looked at, the existing slip count, the new slip count, I was glad to see that these 20, pretty much disappeared. Because again, it doesn't feel like 20-foot slips are, profitable and useful to the fleet and to the users of the harbor. So, again, I'm really kind of just soaking up whatever I can hear from you guys on the phone too. It's not super clear. But I've got, again, a lot of the thoughts that I've heard you guys blowing around the table there.
Yeah,
And the other one is we get rid of the 24s. So, where's your combination?
Those are K.
Okay, yep. Those are all 24s.
Oh, currently.
Yeah, currently, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, because I was seeing the new slip count and I was seeing 24s in there.
So the dredging that we have here, is that for the bulkhead or is that just in general?
I don't know exactly, but it is definitely for the bulkhead.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe for the other part on the side too. Yeah.
So we'd have to dredge for that
Yes.
transient of
Yeah, also we lose bulkheads. We would be useless.
The 60-foot slips, you can put behind it, that's.
We do now, yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna put 100 foot out there, you're gonna have 40 foot sticking out behind it.
Yeah, no, that doesn't, we don't want to put any 100 footers. But G would now have the strength to take one laying against the face,
Yeah, we wouldn't be so worried like we are now.
Are we gonna double up on the pilings on G or?
That's gonna come down with the exact engineering, sit down with the engineers on it, tell them what we want or what they think we need. Yeah, I mean, definitely, well, it's not gonna be a rickety old 50-year-old float either,
Thinking about that, just as we're talking about it, thinking about how we're using our harbor, actually having the end of H have a couple of slips on the windward side gone. Bring big boats in there. That's been a nice place for the traffic that has trouble landing and needs a spot to just go to the end and tie up to something. Might be a way to save a little bit of money. And I know we want maximum number of slips, but
yeah, I mean, it's something we'd have to think, because I don't know, honestly, if you remove like the last two finger floats, does it cost you more to drive extra piles for that extra boat? The extra, you're talking big boat that, I don't know, because if you're talking about sitting out there, you want it to be pretty, so especially when it's broadside like that.
yeah, but it seems to where we put our odd size stuff that, big
So
land crafts and stuff like that.
one thing that is missing out of this drawing that I think I've talked about in the past is to tee off the ends of each float like they do in Valdez, because that provides a spot for a larger vessel on every single.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they angle those floats the other way, yeah.
Yeah, and then angling the floats the other way, but then making it to where instead of the end being like how they are now, where you can't park anything on the end, you have a float T where you get
And there's room out there.
like
That's not bad.
yeah, and there's room at the ends. And you get like 4 slips out.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. You can raft up even there.
Yeah, and in Valdez we always raft up like 2 or 3 deep out of them. Like, so it's
That's a good idea.
and if you're talking about doing that on like H, you'd get 100-foot slip out of that. To doing 1 T out there, and then on I think it is. You'd be getting like, that'd be like a 90-foot slip, and then on the other ones you'd be getting like a 70-foot slip or a 60-foot slip, and so you could either park 2 gill litters on the end, or you could park 1 sinker, or
just talked to AJ today, there's a sump boat just on the recreational boat inside, but we can lay the tug on that. I was like, anyways, it's like, yeah, we could access.
Yeah, so that was one aspect I really liked of their harbor.
That is a good idea.
So I guess when we go back to, are we working with Doug at P&D or?
It's all good, yeah, I mean, it's gonna work out.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, we get to pick to an extent, but we don't get to just pick whoever.
So we have them square, not angled, or we
I would say the same as all the rest of the floats.
Yeah, well, I would keep your distance
Yeah.
consistent. Yeah, no, I like that.
And, you know, when we engineer it, we're gonna wanna put at least 3 pilings on the end, you know, one on each end of the float and then one in the middle to support the whole structure, but it's all doable. That's how they have it in Valdez, they just have 3 pilings on the end of each tee. I mean, we stack a lot of boats out on there. And they get the wind, they get more wind than we do in the winter, but it's a different direction, I guess.
It's about 30, 1.6.
You actually gain the finger stalls.
We gain where it counts, we lose where it doesn't.
I mean, no, but I mean,
Yeah.
we take this one out from the.
Oh, yeah,
From
yeah.
the new one, you're losing about 30.
Yeah, the extra main float.
I didn't count them out, but I figured
Yeah.
it was close to 30.
Would we,
23.
Oh, okay.
if we were putting K back where it originally was, would we still have breakwater side slips? Yeah.
Mhm.
We'd
Oh,
still have
yeah,
it.
but we would not be able to put this under one any later if we're not able to do that.
Right, no, we wouldn't go down there. But we'd have those inside slips being bigger, so that might, you know, using all those.
So if we move those 20-foot slips to 32-foot slips, got rid of the 6th float,
Mm-hmm.
and then basically kept it, could we reuse our trestles?
Approach?
The approach?
They were gonna be going, but they're gonna have to cut them back,
Okay.
because make the ramps 88, because they have to be minimum 80 feet. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, they have to be,
Yeah.
okay.
because they're
Where
like
you leave
60,
them
A float is like 60 and 64 at I float, and then 40 something at G float.
Okay.
Apart from being 88 compliant.
You go real fast if you slip.
Yeah. I like having the gap on, over where like the ladies' mantle parks.
Mm-hmm.
For that drive down dock to be able to access that, because we're gonna have, you know, our wintertime freshwater access is there. It'd be nice to be able to park on both sides. Assuming that won't be a stall anymore, because that'll be
Yeah, and it's
loading
also,
zone.
yeah, and it's also gonna depend on where we put the sewage pump up.
Yep, is probably an ideal spot for it.
There, or could be over on the, drive down too, so.
Well, that, I mean,
That's what he's
that's,
talking about.
yeah,
right?
that's
Oh,
like the
okay.
corner of the drive down.
Okay, gotcha.
Currently, the ladies' mantle park's there.
It's the inside
I
corner
see
there
that as a really nice loading zone for
is it,
boats.
and loading, yeah. With like, you park there too long, the red paint gets on your boat.
Yeah.
This is a loading
Well, I'm just looking at like,
zone.
you know, doing dockside fish sales, doing picking up
All kinds of
transporters, like all the stuff I do. It's like, man, that would be perfect.
I think it would be better for what, like that you're talking about than more of a, sewage dump. I think it's gonna be more on
Would
the
you
rec.
bring a trailer to do it, or would it be, oh, it'd be permanently installed? Oh, I was figuring
These
it-
are at the end of those tees you're talking about, aren't they?
I think
Is
so.
that what you put there?
Yeah.
Okay.
that might be better. I figured you'd come with a trailer. That's why I thought.
Is there a way to put a floating fuel dock on the end of one of these float structures or something? Is that like a possibility? I don't know. Any of them?
I don't know, I'm not the expert on it.
You need more of a facility, right? I mean, you can't, how are you gonna get the fuel?
You're gonna need a shack and everything else, so I don't know, that's.
So currently the way we have it at other locations, depending on how we do it, catch can, we have above ground tanks. In Sitka and some other locations, we have below ground tanks, which allows further use of that property on the upland side to be able to repurpose that for parking or whatever. All we need is a place to come up with the truck, hook the truck up, and pump it into the tanks at the upland portion. And then we would use a pipeline system that that goes along the side of the dock, and that is a pipeline system that goes all the way to the dispensers that they have. So it's kind of the way it works. The float portion of our floating fuel docks is the containment. So they act as containment for the dispensers and the pipeline outlet.
So if we're building new parking, we could possibly put tanks in that space up at the top of that?
That would be the goal, is to have those tanks below ground so you can continue to use that property. I.e., if we were on the other side of the harbor, it would be the parking lot that's across the street. So that it's not the first time that we've been able to design a project with minimal amount of space.
So you probably wouldn't want to have it out at the end of one.
Again,
you'd want it closer.
Again, that's the expense, right? We're talking about the expense for steel, we would be talking about the same expense for steel.
Yeah.
And that, $2,000 or $3,000 a stick.
800 feet.
It's a lot of $2,000 or $3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then failure points,
And that's not an issue. Realistically, the failure points is we have the system designed well enough that allows us to be able to be in the business of expensive fuel.
Should we put a tank for sea level?
Below sea level?
Well, if it's like high tide comes up 15 feet on a bulkhead here, can you be below that 15 if you failure?
And it's not likely that it would be that low. I mean, those tanks will probably be 5,000 gallon tanks.
Oh, you were going
So
you can bring a truck constantly.
Oh, that would, it's easier to fill the tanks than to put bigger tanks in.
I remember when we were with you, they had to bring a truck of anchors to give you 5,000 gallons on that tanker. That's all they had was 1,000 gallon tank.
Yeah, not anymore. But yeah.
So, Krista, just Mark Bernapple joined in. We had some questions about the logistics of getting
I have that.
fuel. So, anyways, I just wanted to let you know since.
Kind of tracking all the links and I recognize that.
Okay. Anyway, thanks, Mark. But that's an idea. If we had, the drive down float. How much space do you need to be realistic about having a full?
How many boats do you want to fuel? I mean, really, that's what it comes down to.
I don't think there's room. You're going to need a lot of. You're going to need.
How many boat pickers do you fuel now?
All of them.
But how many at a time do you fuel?
Well, that's my
6, right?
On a good day we get 6, but realistically it's 4.
4 at a time.
Yeah, and then if we don't have, Seven or Serenity or somebody on the dock or, a stack 2 deep or 3 deep. That's kind of the goal would be to have 4 slots to do, 70 feet aside, 80 feet aside. The ring is what you need to do, and I don't think that fits on the south end of the harbor. Unfortunately, I don't think that kind of space. You're not going to give up transient space for the big boats, right? You're not going to give outside space on that dock for the big boats, and that therein lies some of the locality issues that we have to deal with.
Yeah, I can't imagine the amount of traffic there
Yeah.
between those stalls.
Plus, I would never get a kid to come work for me if they had to carry oil all the way out to the end.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You might
Carry
get
this
popcorn.
800 feet.
You might get popcorn at the end of the float. I'm not sure you get a pail of oil, but
What was that, Krista?
Sandy, do you mind if I jump in real quick?
Please.
I know that, it's kind of a loaded question, but for Mark, what's the ideal location in the harbor for shoreside to have a fuel dock? I mean, and again, I know that there's a little bit of history with shoreside wanting, particular location in the harbor, but is trying to, kind of fit in a fuel dock into this new harbor, restoration. Is that ideal, or is it more ideal to find, the best location for a fuel dock in the harbor? I guess is my question.
But Krista, I think that we're open, right? I mean, you guys are the engineers. You guys can find out the places that would work the best in the design. From the 1,000-foot level, it's much easier for us to put a facility like we talked about in the north side, based upon tanks, based upon running pipelines, based upon all of those things. That's a much more ideal location as far as engineering than it would be to put it at the end of Elfland.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I agree that you don't want to put it towards the head dock or anywhere. There's just too much congestion there, So, I mean,
if you moved L and K and shortened them and put it against the break wall on the outside, does that work? Right? So it's not a float. It's not a float attached to your floats, but it's a float that would be attached to the breakwater, and that would give you that additional location. Again, that's up to you guys to come up with the location that you feel is the best place for us, and then we can determine whether or not we can put it.
Right, so that would definitely be like a small boat fuel dock.
I don't anticipate that we're ever going to close our current fuel dock to stop. I mean, you're not going to go in there with your tug and go to the end of the float to put, 1,000 or 2,000 gallons out. Now, if you're the only one in the middle of the wintertime that wants to go down there and fuel, then that's a different story. But during the season, this would, I think you would find that a lot of our customers would go to the current location as opposed to in the harbor.
Do you foresee having like seasonal gallon kind of like limits? Like if you're going to take over 250, go to this dock.
We're not in the business. We're not in the business of telling you can't buy fuel from us. So
right.
No, I don't see that happening. I think it's just a congested. I mean, currently we don't tell you guys where to go at the fuel dock. That's up to you guys.
Well,
right?
I can say one thing. For the bigger boats, it looked really nice. The little boats weren't like. Yeah. And the little boats would really like to have a little spot where they can tuck in without the big boats coming and squishing.
I'm working on alleviating some of that congestion. But yeah, I mean it's what we do. We try to make everybody happy. Again, not in the business of telling you can't buy fuel.
Yeah, I think most of us do.
Another question for Mark, if you guys don't mind. So, I mean, and it may sound like an answer is obvious, but will having a fuel dock in a harbor help shoreside sell more fuel, or is it simply just about convenience for smaller boats to be able to fuel up in the harbor and bigger boats to fuel up out of the fuel dock? I mean, is it possible that having an extra dock will sell more fuel?
Oh, I think
there's a fuel source in Cordova, and that's why I think it may seem like it's an obvious answer. But I wonder if bigger boats sometimes fuel up outside of Cordova, and if this would maybe potentially create more demand for fuel for you guys.
I think most definitely that's one of the reasons that the owner of the company wants to put a floating fuel dock in Cordova. I mean, because currently we miss out on all of the transient Prince William Sound traffic for recreational boating because they don't want to come to Cordova and get fuel at the fuel dock. I think that's the biggest thing that we miss. We miss the people that want to go on a weekend with a 35-foot boat that they're going to camp on for the weekend. They don't come to Cordova because the fuel dock that we have here is a challenge. especially with the currents, and a lot of those boaters aren't what we would call proficient. So, and if there's an opener going on, they don't want to wait in line for 4 or 5 hours to get fuel. So,
Great.
does that answer it?
Yeah.
And didn't one time a Russian cut in front of one of those guys when he wasn't really clear that he was next in line or something? Something about
That's never
that.
happened for anyone.
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't say that it was a Russian. I would say that it was one of our customers. That's why we don't tell you where you can fuel.
Maybe one of my customers.
I think there would be also commercial traffic that chooses to fuel other places, that it would be more convenient if it was less of a hassle. I don't know. It can be quite congested down there, and sometimes you have other things you want to do in your day than grab some fuel. So I think that it would sell a lot more fuel and keep a lot more people moving around, and make everybody more efficient, have more ways to easily get it.
I look at it as definitely convenience wise. I mean, not that I own a boat that goes in the ocean, but even a harbor skip going down to get fuel, it's horrible. And if it's rough, it ain't. If it's during the season, bow pickers going by and tenders and everyone else is just a little 18-foot boat. Not any fun.
Yeah, no, I think it's a real good idea.
I do think the north side works the best with what's over there right now.
Why?
Yeah. Like I said, we
I
don't
just
want
thought
to make anything
it
towards the
came
shore.
up in this discussion, and I thought it was good to talk about it because, like Valdez has one there and there's one over there. There's like, you have your choice. Oh, there's 3 people there. And
You had your choice.
it's right there.
I'm sure you had your choice. You had your choice.
What's that?
There's struggles with the fuel ducts and Valdez.
Oh. Well, anyhow, as far as putting it up, I think one location in the harbor that can serve the most number of boats efficiently is probably best in the area we talked about over there in that corner where we are going to be utilizing. But anyways, it's good in this discussion, good to talk about.
Yeah.
Putting fuel out there.
Okay.
The end result is the options are available. It's not an ideal location, but it's possible.
Now, later down the road, we weren't gonna, at one time we had to move that breakwater up flush with that channel. You wouldn't wanna build a road on top of this one, down to that slip out there. You just have to tear them down.
Okay.
If you wanted to put a floating dock out here on the breakwater, probably be easy to build that in on top of that breakwater. And make a road there. But if you're gonna tear that breakwater down, you wouldn't wanna do that.
Oh, yeah.
You still
Oh,
got,
I
you
got
kinda
it.
want a pipeline and you want to run.
Having their own float and like making an access road across there. Yeah.
But we're gonna do, thinking they were moving that.
Well, and that's something that I would recommend is the master plan of what's gonna happen with the harbor.
Yeah, we gotta,
If other economic availability with the grants was available.
we had an alternative show that's breaking that out all the way. And then filling in and having, what, 8, 9 more acres of land.
Yeah, I mean, the city,
That was sort of that fast response cutter kind
Yeah.
of idea that we had this.
that was a total of 70, something like that.
What's 50 something out from the 7.
I think it was like 68.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't wanna build a road on top of the Army Corps breakwater. Because then they tell you it's not a problem anymore. Like on the north side.
Not a breakwater.
The north side was that way. We kind of come in and inspect it, and they're like, who built this road?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's, that, they own that. No, they own the breakwater.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, don't place your anchor in the rocks. Breakwater.
Oh, yeah.
Had a folder, had anchor in one of the holes over there, and we took them on a tour out there, Army Corps, and they were like, "What's that?" That's mine today. Yeah.
They own it and they maintain it even more importantly.
They are supposed to, yes.
So,
They should pick up their fill that's coming around the edges.
okay, so I guess, do you have, some direction to go on, Tony, from this discussion? As far as what our priorities are, so you can get another revision of this?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a revision right now, as in just trying to get some of the priorities out of the way, so we're not even discussing, or trying to not discuss it so much when we get to the actual planning stage.
Yeah.
We know, we can tell the engineers, we discuss this is what we think, give us this, we'll be like, okay, now we know we wanna break that up, we wanna break this up. Not going through a whole discussion of meetings and meetings, if that's what it came to.
Yeah.
Just to talk about 2 or 3 priorities.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like you guys all agree that if we only had enough to replace the docks we got right now, that's where we're going, and we're gonna try to do the drive down with it.
Yep.
Those are the 2 parts that we care about right now, and then go on from there.
The one thing I would say along that line, for me anyway, would be to keep this general design with the break in the dock that we've been talking about, so that we can access those 20-foot slips, and then I would say we need to make those 30-foot slips.
And that is, I mean, that to me is just.
And I think if we were to do that, we would actually, we would lose slip count, but the only thing we'd be losing is 20 and 24-foot stalls. We wouldn't be losing any 32s.
Bigger ones, as in.
Yeah, and we need 32s and up. That's all we need. So,
Yeah, everybody's trailing.
As
Not
far as-
everybody, but they can get one.
you can fit a smaller boat. in
Yeah.
your slip.
I'm just saying, is most people are trailing.
I mean, and you could leave a few of those 20-footers. Randy, you remember how many 20-footers we actually rented out?
I have a lot of case on the 24.
No, I'm talking the 20s, like underneath
Yeah,
this.
these ones aren't, but I do think I have a lot in the 24-foot zone
Yeah.
that do fit.
Right, so we could,
I think we would rent them if we had that break.
yeah, oh, I agree, yeah.
But the fact that they're not rented now doesn't mean I don't have the boat, it's just nobody wants to go underneath.
I think you can get rid of probably minimum half of those 20-footers that are inside.
Maybe make the ones attached to the drive down 32s, and then keep the ones over by the harbor master 20s or something. Or?
Yeah, make them all, just make them 30.
I would
Make them all
say,
30, whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, as long as you get around the end of it.
yeah, you can fit a 32-foot boat in a
Yeah,
30-foot
then we
slip.
move to the system of, oh, you pay the length of the boat, or the drop, whatever's longer.
All of J and K are, all of J
I
is
guess that's what it
30.
should be.
He's all 30.
One side of K is 30, and the other side is 24 currently, but all of J is 30. So there's a lot of,
Yeah. Boats in 25. Boats had to move because they went dry at 3-foot lines on towards the ground.
right, it would be nice to get, that's a really defined area there. It goes a little ways, but it's, it would be nice to get that mucked out.
I think that we would get pretty close if we lost O and the bulkhead. That gets us maybe.
Close.
You don't want them to be.
And what's N? I don't know.
Oh, N is the side.
That is what L is now. It's the main head on it.
There's 2 N's basically.
This is split.
You want to get rid of L.
L and O.
L and O. L and O. And maybe a couple cranes.
And the bulkhead.
Right. Oh,
Did I hear you say that a crane costs $100,000?
Yep.
yes.
By the time you rewire and installation and training. Depending on the size, for
Because
sure.
I know at one point the marketing association had been open to the idea of contributing funds towards the crane, so that's something that just we're just going to keep in mind too. If there's a crane that we don't want to lose, there may be other sources of funding for equipment that the Gilman Street in particular uses a lot.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I know they talked about on the drive down dock, they do like 5-ton cranes. That's what like, I know Catch Can Juneau have. But that's like, who did you want to go?
That seems really big.
But then you have to have the certification to run.
So,
I keep the same size we have, just put 2 of them on there.
Now, on this widening part, you get a widening every, this is, every floor, this is a couple.
Why do
we're gonna go back to the original, you can kind of see it shaded there.
You take this one out.
Yeah.
So, the one thing I wanna
This
throw
one
in
is pretty much the original.
is,
I was wondering if we could make it for the bigger boats.
just, I'm thinking about Kenny's comment about people walking distance. And looking at-
Exercise program.
looking at the North Harbor, which is kind of funny because the two approaches kind of bring you pretty close into the same spot where you start out. So it's not really that much different than the North Harbor. But does it make any sense to have 2 approaches, but come in from the sides like you can on the North Harbor? Where you can come in around and utilize the head dock. Anyways, the only thing looking at is, does it make more sense to do that or have the gap? Is there? The thing is that when you have the drive down float, that sort of like takes care of that end, or is it, anyways, I just wanted to bring it up. Looking at it.
I think having a gap is really important. And I know people are going to complain at first, but as far as, if we're trying to manage this as an enterprise, you got to think we need to rent out every foot of dock space we have. And currently we're not doing a good job of that with 20-foot slips because of the current size. So, I mean, the businessman part of me says, we're going to get an extra 30 slips out of this, and we're going to rent those all for an extra $300,000 a year. We need to do it,
So it's extra, it's extra.
Yeah.
But so if the drive down float is golden and we like that and we, it kind of needs to be that way, but that other one could be anywhere in between. Because you can still come around the outside or come down the middle, right? So like
You say the other one, I don't know.
okay, so the drive down float is one approach.
Okay.
Then the other one, right now, we got it like heading down straight to K float. So.
Oh, you mean put it on the other side of that, so like it comes up by the harbor master?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So it could be, you can still come around. Like it's not locked in having it over there, but it does make our later plan better with the main transient flow.
Yeah, I like keeping it spread out because then when we maybe get money in the future, we can do the transient flow across there.
Because that starts at the same approach and drops down.
I really like that transient flow being there. I wish that we had the money to do it all. Was there any chance of getting that $7 million that EDA was dangling?
They got such a big match with it. And talking to EDA, they were kind of like, yeah, we need a few extra bucks, okay, but.
And at first they were like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but we already got from Ray's.
Yeah.
So
now we're backing out.
yeah, they're like, because Ray's and the state is going to cover a huge part of what the EDA is going to do. So I'm still waiting on the pivot.
But that can we use that on the south?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's south and north.
The pit. Yeah. How much is that for?
That one was 40.
40 million.
40, yeah.
That included the North Harbor bulkhead too.
Right, so of course, we're not gonna go as far with it, but we'd be able to,
Yeah.
we should be able to move that over and use part of it.
Is
I think it was 12 for the north side. So
Is there any chance that we're gonna get it too?
they did call us for more information, just like the radio people did. Like emailed us and we sent them all the information along with our plans and everything else, so. If it's anything like a raisin, yeah, it sounds promising, but I wouldn't expect it on the street.
When will we find out?
We are supposed to hear, I thought, just before Christmas or this, I can't remember, we're supposed to hear it in December.
And is there, it's up to 40, they could be like, oh, we already got the bill, so we'll give you 20.
Yeah, it could be just like the bill did, I mean, we put in 25, we got 20.
Yeah. That would still be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
On this thing we're doing now, are we planning to strip that flow out and the concrete flow out? Or are you still thinking of putting teeth on any for these slope?
I would like to add that in.
I mean, that will all depend on where we get for the engineering prices, if they say that's gonna cost us an extra 200,000.
But if you want a drawing, you let it show what we, if you're gonna try to put it in there, you can take it off.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We can take
It's
it
a
off.
suggestion you can make for the engineers.
I think it's a real good idea.
I think
Maximize.
the teeing it off is gonna be cheaper than making a whole boat float or whatever that is.
What I'm mean is that if you have it in front of you, cost, you can say, all right, we can't do that. But if you don't have it, they're just gonna, like we're doing now. Just
Yeah, I'm
Well, still my notes is that is something, when we talk with an engineer,
Yeah.
that will be something that we bring our ideas to them. So, but I do have the notes to get into conversation with them before that.
And then these figures are the Bellingham Marina figures for concrete float.
And the same modular.
Mhm. You can get them to know what we got.
Okay, and all stainless hardware.
I think so.
Or galvanized. This galvanized holds up really good.
The nice part is that the new system, even like on the north side, even though I don't really like the north side of ducts, everything's a lot higher out of water.
Yeah.
You know, you got a minimum, I think it's minimum 18-inch freeboard.
And is that gonna include ladders?
Oh, yeah. No?
Is there any chance of getting that ME money for the ladders like they're?
Whoever that person was is no longer there. It was someone, I can't remember her name now.
We really should have some ladders. That's
But
Probably is a grant opportunity.
it sounds like that's something we
yeah.
pursue. That's a real safety.
But being that higher freeboard, you keep all that, whatever it is, steel in it, much higher up and out.
And makes it harder for the person.
Yeah, a little bit, but you know, it's, that's why the exercise
Guys
program.
who leave their jet cars on their boats so they can climb up to the jet car.
Oh yeah, no, there's
Mine's got a swim stuff on.
sorry.
You guys cut them all off.
You were talking about the freeboard, they're gonna be that much
Oh.
higher on the
So Penny asked about the wood on them. Well, I've said before that, you know, they're pouring, I think last time I talked to Bellingham Marine, they're pouring upwards of 60-foot solid pour. So there's no blue lands or beams that hold all those 10-foot sections together. And then as a rubber rail, you can go wood or UHMW.
I would say let's go UH.
Well, I would agree, granted, it is a lot more expensive compared to a piece of wood, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, that is a,
I just think we need to build this thing to last 100 years.
well,
We're
I
not
would love to think
we're
that
not-
would happen, but
We're not gonna have the money that we do. Oh, my lifetime.
plus, so yeah, well, G Club is the oldest part, which is 40 plus. So.
But it's not the UHMW, it's the HDP.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Plastic.
UHMW is brittle and breaks. Yeah.
So it's plastic. So.
Yeah, no, there's, actually, I, was looking at a boat system somewhere in the Canadian Arctic. The whole pier and the whole support structure, everything was HDPE, welded HDPE pipe, like there was no steel, it was all plastic, and it looked hell for stop, heavy duty, you know, they're pushing as hard as something. That's beautiful. Well, HDPE is, yeah, you're right. It's, you know, plastic passes to different things, but it's pretty flexible, and we don't know what
One of the kind of things that's great.
Yeah, yeah, it's never gonna go away. That's what it's, anyway,
So what are the pilings made out of this plant?
Steel.
With HDPE coatings or?
like we have now, that's a coating, that's like some sort of plastic coating on that.
Yeah, within that epoxy, sunlight, coating, or whatever it is, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, as far as I know,
It's
that's.
a polyurea.
I went there, when I was at one of the expos, I went for a ride with Bellingham Marine, and went there in a course, and looked at their system, their docks that they put in there. It's, at the time, they were just doing 50-foot fours, and it's just so nice not to have those seams and all the wood that holds it all together. You know, 20 bolts in each section, you know, so, but yeah.
And they don't have the gang or the easement for all the utilities in the middle.
Correct, it's all manholes. So it's, you know, wherever there's a connection, there's a fiberglass manhole recessed a little bit down in the dock, or whatever. It's everything I've seen so far, at least.
And it's all fiberglass conduit in the port
Yeah,
itself.
it's in the port. Yeah. But yeah, you don't have that racetrack tripping over and breaking off or whatever, slippery and all that. So yeah.
Don't want to hang up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we can get a four-wheeler with a plow on
I'm standing on his end. Well, oh, not off subject, but that brush field, if anybody,
Trying to get my guys to use it. They don't like it.
well, they don't like it.
You have it?
We have the brush, yeah.
And it's not a four-wheeler?
No, it's not. No, it's a walk behind.
Oh, right, we talked about that.
You have to be careful with it when it grabs.
It'll pull you.
It will throw you back.
It's pushing you back, right? Yeah.
Hit dirt with it? Yeah, it threw me back quite a way out. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So you're actively looking for Harbor Commission volunteers to come down and run the brush.
it. Does it clear like really well or?
It clears pretty good before real far.
Yeah.
But I think on the docks it'd be fine. It closes far enough. I mean, this heavy wet stuff, it probably wouldn't do a great job on it. But, you know, that between that we get quite enough is moist, just not rainy. I don't think it's not for slush well at all. Yeah. Heated docks would be good.
How much does that cost?
Yeah, but we don't want oil. No, Mark, we're not buying fuel to heat the docks. Mark likes it.
How do you deal with it, whale?
Probably could.
Big sweater, burn all your waste oil.
Yep.
We could probably have enough heat or just circulate seawater through it and keep it warm enough. You wouldn't need to heat it. It's almost doing it all.
Well, I had it in there, it was everything folks, the harbor full of solid.
Those back on the
Bill's
storm.
talking to trees on
Storm
both.
drains are going to the harbor too.
That was before the global warming night.
Yeah. What was it, in 89, 90?
We're experiencing some of that right now.
I have guys on boats almost sinking because the bill's on froze.
Huh. Yeah. Well, that's not good.
For the owners of the rain then too.
Can't see any snow from his place. All right. Well, is there anything else before we wrap up South Harbor replacement parties list? I think we got.
I would like to see a drawing, and though, I mean, is that possible?
Like you drawing it?
No, like another one of these with everything we just talked about.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, P&D has been really good to us, but yeah, I think there's got to be a rendition before we go to town and start doing this. They're going to bring us an example, whoever it is, and be like, all right. The thought is that when we go out for RFP, we will ask for more than one example with additions or whatever. So I mean, the whole process is definitely not going to be there. Okay, we're gonna this is what we're doing. We're done. You know, so.
Is there any way we could go after some trails grants before service for doing that upland and maybe like incorporate a boardwalk portion, you know, do the sheet pile and the dredging and like, is there a way that we could like throw that to another funding source? Yeah,
Yeah. No,
last year they were bragging about how much money they could bring to the community.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see if they can do it.
I don't know. I mean, at least what I've heard talking to a couple of them is that their trails is trails. You know, and that kind of money, they're not talking millions, they're talking, you know, 100,000 to work on trails, but I don't know.
Well, Ken, you know, actually, I'm kind of in line with that. It wouldn't be a bad idea to see if we could get something like that, because they can put interpretive signs, and then it's in line with their master plan. They have, you know, they've been redoing the interpretive signs all over the forest for Chudash Forest for the last few years. So it's not actually a really terrible idea. You might be able to get some kind of partner funding from the Forest Service, as long as they can put in interpretive signs, which would be a win-win anyway.
Yeah, but I kind of want to have those no matter what.
Isn't it their interpretive sign at the Breakwater Trail at the end?
So,
I thought it was Parks and Recs, but I don't know 100%.
Yeah, I think the one on the Breakwater is perfect.
Okay, okay. Where were you thinking that they would
on
do
the
like?
top of the sheet pile, have a railing with a bunch of little metal fish cutouts bolted to the handrails and a bunch of signs all over it. A nice little walkway for
The sheet pile that's.
yeah, but like on top of the sheet pile and the transient floats, kind of like they have about these. You know, they got the transient float underneath sheet pile, and then a nice boardwalk
Right. I got
that's like 10 feet wide sidewalk, so moms and babies can walk their strollers down, and you know, not necessarily something that's our priority, but if there's a way to partner
Right.
to get it, then
Right.
you know, maybe
Now,
maybe we can lower our cost on the cheap piles.
Right.
I got you.
Get a piece of it, so.
That was a great way.
Where the trail was going.
And yeah, so like maybe that's an idea. Call EA or
I think you're gonna be surprised at the amount of funding available.
what about what are did they get that Second Street grant? Is that something we can apply for a sheet pile park with the
No.
state?
That's,
Streets and sidewalk walkability.
yeah. The way I understand, you have to take it over though, and become, it's gotta be an actual street. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can look into that. Same would know better on that one.
Stroller Street. Okay. Partnerships with anybody.
I mean, I would hate to not get it. You know, we're so close to having the whole enchilada. I mean, it's the closest we've been 10 years talking to this.
Forever.
So,
And it might go on.
and like what Mark said, there's a lot of funding coming with it. So,
It's good to make sure what we do with the first part here matches what the council comes.
yeah, I mean, if we design this properly, we can do the floats, we can do the harbor, and we can do the walkway and the sheet pile later.
Yeah, we just don't want to incorporate it, so, doing it. It's an engineer to connect into what we want to do.
Exactly. Cool. Well, look forward to seeing future drawings.
Yeah, once we go up RFP and do all that stuff, I talked with Sam and Curtis, it's definitely going to sit down with engineers and stuff like that, and get the harbor permission, and I think planning will be involved, especially if we're doing some uplands and all that. And, you know, I know I've talked to CEC a little bit, and then maybe some money there that they can kick in for electrical side or uplands electrical possibility, you know.
We'll actually have street lights that work.
The street lights work, most of the dock lights are not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
We got 4 more working over there.
There's one that drives me
We're
crazy.
gonna see like 4 total in the whole harbor. It's pretty
Someone
impressive.
shut the breaker off on Facebook.
That one that blinks all the time. Drives me
Which
crazy.
one?
I don't know, it was right next to my boat when I'm down there.
Oh.
Off and on. About driving me crazy.
Maybe it's March 20th.
Yeah, go home. Your wife called, and she wants somebody to run.
You're looking for something, the lights on, lights on.
All right, so I think that for this go around wraps up our new business. We'll keep looking at this. We'll get new renditions. now everybody's thinking about things. Amazing how money goes away with inflation.
Money printer goes for
Old business, we have none, miscellaneous business. Audience participation, we're at.
Mark?
We now have an audience. Mark.
Oh, I've got a question for Tony under old business.
Okay.
Shipyard pedestals. We talked about them in a previous
We
meeting.
talked about it multiple times.
What's up?
That's all gonna depend on time.
Where he goes, where we put
Well, I
him.
know where he wants to go, but whether he actually does it, you know, I mean, I know they had a big disaster, so, still waiting to hear on that one, and then, yeah, I mean, we still can put some, but I'd like to be able to run the whole road, really, you know.
Is there a way to get meters on?
If I get Paul to be in town once in a while, oh boy, he won't be back till January.
Really?
What about Jesse Beal?
He,
Coverage for both, like,
yeah, he is gone all of January. I asked Paul to give me a quote. Tell me what we thought.
What about Nate Kane?
Definitely not licensed to do that, I think so. Residential, I think.
I thought he was better on the big stuff,
Oh, yeah?
like even bigger stuff.
He's working at the hospital right now.
Anyways, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
call, yeah.
He told me he was going to go get all the certification, and that was like last spring.
Nope,
Yeah.
the plan is there. We're waiting on to hear about that one, about, you know, trenching and buying pedestal stuff. But we do have meters to go in. I told,
I know which one you should start with.
maybe yours is times two.
Make more
Three,
money
four.
charging by the cord.
Yeah. Well, the problem is Jerry's diesel furnace, forced air furnace burned up.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna rent it from him. So,
There's one out there. That's reduced. There's one out there.
it's Heinz.
Oh, is
He's gonna bring it down here when we get the snow.
German's got one. 200.
Gerald? Well, I need one.
Yeah,
It's cold.
it's cool.
Electric heaters are not gonna be good for long.
No,
They're expensive.
probably getting money's worth though. Maybe not with 3/4, but to get your money's worth. Mark, you're not gonna speak.
Okay, so we're through audience participation. We got commission comments and next meeting agenda items. How about Krista? Why don't you go ahead? Commission comments.
Yeah, just thanks for welcoming me onto this, working group, and, I look forward to meeting with you guys in person next time, so I can be a little bit more proactive in the conversation.
Okay, well, we look forward to that.
I think it's good, you know, just wonder what we're gonna do. 12, 13, 9 under. What we're gonna keep, and always see a basic idea of something we have to do. Crap. Ask me all the time, what we can do. I try to tell you, but I don't have a picture yet.
Now you have a picture.
Now I have a picture.
It's not
Or-
exactly right.
It's not wrong, but you didn't get the good
Yeah,
idea.
I can draw stuff on it.
Right.
It's a nice
But yeah, it sounds good. We maybe find out in another 3 weeks or so what's gonna happen with our other stuff, but never know, you might get lucky. 30 million or something, you'd be able to finish it all.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
But that's wishes, you know, all those go. That's about all I have.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Good discussion. I think we got a good direction moving forward. And as far as like next meeting topics, is there any chance we can see the budget? I mean, it's technically gonna be too late now. We We didn't get to see it before it was voted on by council last year, and now it's gonna happen again. But I don't know if that's you or the manager.
There has been a lot of movement on budget on the council side.
Better get hurry up.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I mean, not a lot has changed. We did raise some of the rates, and we didn't raise our cost. So our expenditures.
I guess the big thing I wanted to talk about, before it gets voted on by council, but I guess it's probably too late unless we have a special meeting, is some of these projects we've talked about for years. I'd like to start building in a capital budget for, you know, having a crane, like before this coming season. We talked about it a little bit. Like we were able to find funding for the harbor, or for the bathroom down at the shipyard, you know, like the pedestal, like, you know, I wanna have maybe develop a harbor capital priorities list like the city does. And then have a capital budget every year that gets built in and voted on. So we can keep up with our maintenance a little bit better when we get a new flow structure. And, I think that you probably need some more help too. So I kind of wanted to, you know, maybe increase some of the budget for the staffing down at the harbor department, if that's possible. I know it's not, but we can make recommendations to the people who do decide.
Yeah.
And that's why.
We did, I can tell you, I did put, there is capital projects, but it was for like 3 things and it's about $100,000.
Okay.
One is the genie lift, which we need to do travel lift, and then the other is to get rid of boats and they're down the shipyard.
Okay.
So, and I understand where you're coming from, don't get me wrong, but we do have to be careful on that capital budget because we don't know where our savings is going this year. It may go to this project.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I guess,
Yeah,
I guess as a harbor commissioner, I'd at least like to look at it and make a recommendation to council before they vote every year. I mean, we used to, I don't know why it changed.
Can you send it out where we can look at it and have a chance to, we don't have to have a meeting necessarily, we can get comments.
Yeah, I mean, the standard budget is online, but yeah, you know, I can, in the council packet, I can. So, like I said, but none of our expenditures, as in operating expenditures, have gone up, as in something that I put in. Healthcare or wages, that's different, but.
So how does it work with your budget? You kind of come up with what you think you need, then you get it to Helen, and she has it.
We still have an operator for the place, you lift down there, it still has to be filled, right?
Oh, yeah. But Crystal and I have been doing it.
Yeah, but it's the position there.
Yeah.
What about our building? Did that just go away? The shop building?
Oh,
Remember we poured the slab and we got the stone wall and then. It was too expensive, right? All the bids came back.
The lowest bid was $800,000. For a building that cost, well, when I priced it out, it was $190,000.
I'm just had a little more. Yeah, well, I think, personally, I think it's a long-term priority. We need to keep talking about it because there's no way that we can just decide that the building's too expensive when we're never going to have something other than a couple connexes. So, you know, that's.
I tried to buy more comics.
So I guess, and then another, next meeting agenda topic would be, I guess, an update on if the King Sam disaster funds are moving anywhere. Just keep on top of that. Update on the crane project we've been trying to get done.
Is there any additional monies that would maybe not work for floats or something, but might work for maintenance buildings? I think a jacket pad has a better port building.
can we apply to Fish and Game for another ramp to sport fish?
Everything we looked into is because we don't have a sport fish fleet.
But we do.
Not sport fish boats and charters, so
It's
much.
getting bigger.
It is getting bigger, but
The
it's
last 2
some of
years
the like
we
I
have-
talked to Seward, they said, yeah, I mean, you have to have a lot, you have to have a pretty big sport fish. Like boating fleet.
We have a cylinder.
It's a great idea.
I sure we sponsor that.
Yes, that was one of the other things I wanted to add into this year's budget was gonna be to go in between the 3-stage and the, remember how we talked about that at the last meeting or the meeting before? And you measured it and everything, and we decided that it was barely wide enough to do another ramp, and then,
But we decided we screw people trying to get into the 3-stage stuff.
Yeah, and it drops off there, you have to fill. You got a big bulkhead right between there.
Yeah, it drops off right away, so we put the ramp out, because the ramp goes a lot further than the 3-stage dock. So if anyone tried to come in there, even with a lower tide, they drag across on. So
Of course, the drag down float will really get a lot of that. Traffic, especially bigger ones. getting into the 3-stage. I don't-
I mean, I still think it's, I didn't realize that we had decided not to go for it.
well, I would say it just kind of.
Well, I was
really
gonna
the great
ramp.
because I mean that one over there was $300,000 to do that. We don't have $300,000 laying around that we could. If we have to pay for it, so.
That we should, once we get the drive down float, we should look at that again because of that. I think then we can pinch the 3-stage a little more. We'll have
Right.
actually a crane, we'll have deep water.
I agree. It's something we can look at, but I think
But having 2 ramps there would be.
Well, you almost go to the south side of that, almost the whole side already.
well,
Right.
Yes, I launch next to people, they get excited, but I'm like, there's room
If
here.
you have another dock there, you can pull up to the side. and
Yeah.
walk off.
Get somebody in.
Basically, it's too much, it's
Oh,
twice as
that's-
wide as there.
Shoot, that's an idea.
It's twice as wide.
Just you can't get
How
on
hard
there.
would it be to shift that float over?
shift that float.
Into the middle.
No, just like, instead of encroaching all the way over to the 3-stage, go like half the distance, and then put another float on the other side, make it double wide. I don't know.
You'd have to put the pilings through the middle of the float instead of braced off the other thing, but other than that, it's.
Or you could just do a pile hoop. Instead of having a long thing, if you moved it over, I mean, we'd have to put new concrete underneath where the float rests. So I'm just thinking of how they basically make that ramp twice as wide. So 2 people could launch at a time.
I'll play devil's advocate for a minute.
Okay.
So if we build 2 ramps, so we just kind of disembowel the whole north ramp. Get people more places to come and cause more congestion.
It is a bad spot.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a bad spot.
I mean, I understand the beach. I love like Homer and stuff. They get the big wide tree ranch, whatever. And but yeah,
I think it would alleviate congestion because you could have, instead of having like 1 boat launching and 3 people waiting, you could have 2 boats launching at a time. And so you would get less people waiting. And
5 moving at a time because they'd all be talking position. We're talking about that goes on trailers.
I mean, there's already that anyway, so it's just going to be better.
It's gonna be different. I'd say that we've got a lot to chew on and we should look at, not throw that out though.
I mean, when we're going to have
Rather
heavy
than
equipment
that.
here, moving flow structures would be the time to work on everything we can while they're here.
I always kind of like the K idea, but it's tight.
now you put the traffic down.
Right. But that's a better place
Yeah.
for it. It's part-
There's a lot of parking.
Yeah, there's a lot of parking. Put it on the very end of the breakwater, up the end. But then you still have parking issues where you put the trailers, because no one's gonna want to take them back home if they don't want, not no one, but. That is the nice thing about the north side, there is a place to put your trailer if you want.
Yep. And the dock, we're gonna leave it out there for the winter?
No, I wasn't talking about it.
Oh, okay, I was looking at it today. Oh, it's still here.
We were gonna haul it all the way out of the water, put it on dry land and go through it and everything. City shop picking it up with the loaders, but now the winter's coming, that ranch got slick and everything, it's just like,
It's not really
yeah,
happening.
and they just got busy moving snow, and just,
Yeah, the loader was down on the days we had it planned.
yeah, that too,
There
yeah,
at high tide.
yeah, so, yeah. But,
We'll get back to that. Alrighty. Alright, no, I think that's a good idea. It's always, yeah, anyways, that's always bothered me there, that there's actually room for two, but we're only using one. And it's, but, yeah, it is a bad spot, add more traffic. That's what we got.
we go to a two-stage dock.
Go to a two-stage dock instead of three-stage. Yeah, well, I mean, the drive down is kind of what we're after when we're using the three-stage dock, is to be able to have it as close as possible so that we can things down. So the convenience of that, I think, from the few times I've used the one in Valdez, it's amazing. Is this, do we know, is this, do you know what the size of that one is? Is it 90 by 120?
That's what it says, I need to go.
Well, that's the size they have? That says we have on the
Oh,
drawing.
oh, what Valdez has?
Yeah.
I have no idea what theirs, I've not seen.
It's square, it's not, I think it's 90 by 90. It's smaller than this one.
I know you can turn a utility trailer around in there. It's pretty nice.
When I pull up with my same boat with a skiff behind me, I'm almost as long as the entire dock.
Probably.
I think it's 90 by 90. Because
So
it's like 52 plus 21.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think I'm happy that we didn't skinny this lips closer together. My most recent experiences, but I think it'll. I think we're on the right track with our priorities on this. Good discussion. Appreciate everybody's coming out and talking about this, and hopefully will actually be something done at some point. But a lot closer than we have been.
Mhm.
So appreciate it, and yeah. Let's see, that wraps up our commission comments, and the next action item is adjournment. Any opposed? Nope. Guess we're adjourned.